I felt the wind change before anyone else did. That's what happens when you live close to the ground. You feel things humans miss. The shift in pressure, the drop in temperature, the way the air tastes different when a storm is coming. We were high on the mountain, higher than I'd ever been, and the world was white, not the soft white of snow falling gently in a forest. This was harsh, blinding, the kind of white that erases everything. Sky, ground, direction, all of it gone. I stayed close to Maddie. That was my job. Stay close. Watch. Listen. I'd been doing it for 2 years now, ever since the day I jumped into his truck in Nevada and decided he was mine. Or maybe he decided I was his. It doesn't matter. We belonged to each other. But now, on this mountain, something was wrong. The rope that connected us pulled tight. Too tight. I could feel the tension through my harness, feel the way the humans ahead were moving, uncertain, hesitant. Their boots crunched against ice that shouldn't have been there. The wind howled, pushing against us like something alive, something angry. And then the world dropped out from under me. I wasn't always velvet. Before Maddie, before the mountain, I was just another dog on a dusty road in Nevada. No collar, no home, just me and the desert and the endless stretch of highway disappearing into heat shimmer. I don't remember much about before. Maybe I had a family once. Maybe I didn't. What I remember is being alone, hungry, the sun pressing down like a weight, the sound of cars passing, their tires hissing against asphalt. And then one day, a truck stopped. Not slowed down. Stopped. The door opened, and a man got out. He had kind eyes, the kind that crinkle at the corners when he smiles. He crouched down, extended his hand, and said something soft. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. He wasn't going to hurt me. I walked over, sniffed his hand, and then, on some instinct I didn't question, I jumped into his truck. He laughed. A good sound. A sound that felt like safety. "Okay then," he said. "Guess you're coming with me?" He named me Velvet. Said it was because of my ears, soft and dark and always flopping into my eyes. He scratched behind them and I leaned into his hand. And that was it. I was his dog. He was my human. We went everywhere together after that. Trails, rivers, mountains. He taught me to stay close on rocky paths, to wait when he said wait, to come when he called. And I learned. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Because being with Maddie meant I wasn't alone anymore. And now, 2 years later, we were on Mount Hood. The fall happened fast. One moment we were walking, slow, careful steps across an icy slope. The next moment, the ground wasn't there. Maddie's weight yanked the rope, and suddenly I was sliding, tumbling. The harness dug into my chest as I spun, snow and ice scraping against my paws, my legs, my back. I heard shouting, human voices high and panicked, and then a thud, bodies hitting snow, breath knocked out of lungs. The world tilted and spun, and I couldn't tell which way was up. When we finally stopped, I was tangled in the rope, gasping, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might break out of my chest. Maddie was next to me, coughing, snow caked in his hair and beard. Two women, Kate and Christina, lay a few feet away, their faces pale, their eyes wide with shock. "Everyone okay?" Maddie's voice was rough, strained. Kate nodded. Christina groaned, touched her head, her hand coming away red. I whimpered and pressed against Maddie's side. He put his hand on my back, steadying himself. Steadying me. "We're okay," he said, but I could hear the lie in his voice. We weren't okay. Not even close. The wind screamed. That's the only word for it. It didn't blow or gust or howl. It screamed. It tore at the tarp they'd managed to spread over us, flapping and snapping like a living thing trying to escape. The temperature was dropping. I could feel it in my paws, in my nose, in the way the air burned when I breathed. Maddie and Kate worked fast, pulling out sleeping bags, arranging them over Christina, who was shivering violently. Her head injury looked bad. Dark bruises already forming around her eyes, blood still seeping from a cut on her forehead. "Stay with us, Christina," Kate said, her voice firm but gentle. "We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this." I didn't know if she believed it, but I knew they needed to. Matty pulled out his cell phone. His fingers were already stiff from the cold, fumbling with the buttons. He dialed, waited. And then I heard his voice, tight and controlled. "We need help. Mount Hood. We fell. White River Canyon, I think. Around 7,000 feet, maybe lower. One head injury. Winds." He paused, listening to the screaming air. 70 miles per hour, maybe more. We're activating the locator unit. Please hurry." He hung up and looked at Kate, at Christina, at me. "They're coming," he said. But I could smell his fear, sharp and metallic, the kind of smell that made my instincts scream danger. The hours that followed blurred together. They called 911 every hour. Maddie gave pep talks, told Kate and Christina they were going to make it, that rescue was coming, that they just had to stay warm and stay awake. Kate did exercises, moving her arms and legs to keep the blood flowing. Christina drifted in and out, her eyes unfocused, her words slurring, and I did what I could. I moved between them, lay across Kate's legs, then Christina's chest, then Maddie's back. My body was warm, always had been. Thick black fur, muscle underneath, heat radiating from my core. I pressed against them, sharing what I had. "Good girl, Velvet," Maddie whispered, his hand resting on my head. "Good girl." I licked his face, tasted salt and snow and exhaustion. The wind didn't stop. It pushed against us, relentless, trying to peel away the tarp, trying to steal what little warmth we had. The temperature kept dropping. 20 degrees Fahrenheit, Maddie guessed. Maybe lower. My paws ached. The ice cut into the pads and I could feel blood. Not much, but enough to sting. I didn't care. They needed me. That was all that mattered. Somewhere around 2 in the morning, Christina started crying. Not loud, just soft, broken sobs that shook her whole body. "I'm so cold," she whispered. "I can't feel my feet." Kate moved closer, wrapped her arms around Christina. I know, but we're going to make it. Maddie's going to get us through this." Maddie looked at me. I looked back, and I understood. This wasn't just about staying warm anymore. This was about staying alive. I crawled over to Christina, nestled against her side, and let my weight press into her. She gasped, a small, surprised sound, and then her hand found my fur. She gripped it, held on, and I felt her breathing slow. Just a little. Just enough. "Thank you, Velvet," she whispered. I closed my eyes and focused on staying warm, on keeping them warm, on being the thing between them and the cold. The night stretched forever. Time lost meaning. There was only the wind and the cold and the sound of breathing, theirs and mine. Maddie kept talking, kept moving, kept doing whatever he could to keep everyone alert. Kate followed his lead, her voice steady even though I could smell her fear too. And Christina held on. Every hour Maddie made the call. "Still here, still waiting. Please hurry." And every hour the voice on the other end said the same thing. "We're coming, hold on." But the storm wasn't letting up, and I could feel the humans getting weaker, their movements slower, their voices quieter, the way their hands shook when they tried to eat the energy bars Maddie passed around. I wanted to bark, to howl, to do something that would make the rescuers come faster. But I didn't know how, so I stayed close, stayed warm, stayed present. That was all I could do. Somewhere around dawn, the wind began to ease. Not by much, but enough that I could hear something new. Something that made my ears perk up. Voices, distant, human, but different from the ones I knew. I lifted my head, stared into the white, and barked. "Velvet, what is it?" Maddie's voice was hoarse, exhausted. I barked again, louder this time, and then I heard it clearly. "Hello? Can you hear us? We're from Portland Mountain Rescue." Maddie scrambled out from under the tarp, nearly falling in his rush. "Here, we're here." Kate and Christina stirred, their faces pale and drawn, but their eyes suddenly sharp, suddenly hopeful. "Over here!" Maddie shouted, waving his arms. "3 of us and a dog. 1 head injury. We need help." The voices got closer, and then I saw them, figures in bright jackets, moving through the snow with purpose, strong, capable, safe. Rescue. The rescuers reached us within minutes. They moved fast, assessing Christina's head injury, checking Kate and Maddie for frostbite, wrapping them in warmer layers. One of them knelt next to me, ran his hands over my legs, my paws, my back. "The dog's got some cuts and abrasions," he said, "but she's in better shape than I expected." Better shape. I wanted to laugh if dogs could laugh. My paws were torn and bleeding. My back legs ached from the cold. My whole body felt like it had been beaten against rocks. But I was alive. And more importantly, they were alive. "She kept us warm," Kate said, her voice breaking, "all night. She kept moving between us, sharing her heat. I don't think we would have made it without her." The rescuer looked at me, really looked, and something in his expression softened. "She's a hell of a dog." Maddie crouched down, put his arms around me, and buried his face in my fur. I felt his shoulders shake, felt the way his breath hitched. "You saved us, Velvet," he whispered. "You saved us." I licked his ear, because that's what I do. The hike down was slow. Christina was carried on a stretcher, her head injury too serious to risk walking. Kate and Maddie walked, supported by rescuers on either side. And I walked too, even though every step sent pain shooting through my paws. I didn't stop, didn't slow down. I stayed close to Maddie, just like always. When we reached the bottom, there were ambulances waiting. Bright lights, people rushing, cameras flashing. I didn't understand all of it, but I understood that we were safe, that the mountain hadn't taken us. Maddie started to walk toward the ambulance, but then he turned back, looked at me, and held out his arms. "Come on, Velvet. You're riding with us." I didn't need to be told twice. I ran, painful as it was, and leapt into the ambulance beside him. He laughed, a sound that was half sob, half relief, and pulled me close. "We made it," he said. "We actually made it." The science of what happened that night is simple, really. Dogs have higher body temperatures than humans, around 101 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit compared to a human's 98.6. Our fur insulates us, traps heat close to our bodies. When we lie against someone, that heat transfers. Not a lot. But in conditions like we faced, winds at 70 miles per hour, temperatures in the 20s, wet clothes, exhaustion, even a few degrees can mean the difference between life and death. The rescuers said it later. In interviews I heard replayed on the television in the animal hospital where they treated my paws. The dog probably saved their lives. Probably. As if it was luck. As if it was chance. But it wasn't. I chose to stay. I chose to move between them. I chose to press my body against theirs. even when I was cold and scared and hurting. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You don't abandon them in the storm. You don't leave them to face the cold alone. You stay. The aftermath came with questions. People asked Maddie why he brought me, said it was reckless, said the mountain wasn't a place for dogs, said I could have died. And they were right. I could have died. The fall could have broken my legs. The cold could have frozen my paws beyond repair. The wind could have torn me away from the group, sent me tumbling into a crevasse where no one would ever find me. But I didn't die, and neither did they. Maddie defended his choice, but I could hear the guilt in his voice. On a fair weather day, he said in an interview, it would have been fine, but when the weather turned bad, it wasn't a place for Velvet. I learned that. He blamed himself. I could smell it on him for days afterward. Shame and regret and fear. But I didn't blame him. Because the truth is, I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else. Not safe at home, not waiting by the door, not wondering if he was okay. I wanted to be with him. On the mountain, in the storm, wherever he was. That's what love is. Maddie took me to the veterinary hospital. They cleaned my paws, treated the cuts, wrapped them in soft bandages, gave me pain medication, and told Maddie I'd need rest for a few days, maybe a week. She's a tough one, the vet said, scratching behind my ears. Not many dogs could have done what she did. Maddie nodded, but he didn't say anything. He just looked at me, and I looked back, and we understood each other the way we always had. We went home. He gave me extra treats, a new bone, lots of attention. But mostly, he just sat with me, on the floor, his hand on my back, my head in his lap. I don't know what I would have done without you, he said quietly. I licked his hand. Because I did know. He would have survived. He's strong, resourceful. The kind of human who gives pep talks in the middle of a storm, who keeps people moving and breathing and hoping even when everything seems hopeless. But I'm glad he didn't have to find out. The reporters called me a hero. Wonder Dog, one headline said. Velvet saves climbers on Mount Hood. But I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was just trying to keep my family warm. To do what I'd always done. Stay close, watch, protect. Heroes are people who make choices, who decide to risk their lives for others. I didn't decide anything. I just did what felt right, what felt necessary, what felt like the only possible thing to do in that moment. Maybe that's what heroism is. Not deciding to be brave, just being unable to do anything else. I think about that night often. The wind, the cold, the way time seemed to stop and stretch and collapse all at once. The feeling of their hands in my fur, their weight against my body, their breath against my neck. I think about how close we came to not making it. And I think about what it means to love someone enough to lie down in the snow beside them and refuse to move until help comes. It means everything. I am Velvet. I'm a black lab mix who jumped into a truck 2 years ago and found a home. I learned to hike and climb and stay close. I learned what it means to belong to someone, to be part of something bigger than myself. And on February 18, 2007, on Mount Hood, Oregon, at 7,400 feet in White River Canyon, when the wind howled at 70 miles per hour and the temperature dropped into the 20s and 3 humans fell into the storm, I learned what it means to be needed. Not just wanted. Needed. I kept them warm. I stayed with them. I refused to let the cold take them. And when the sun rose and the rescuers came, we walked down the mountain together. All of us. Alive. My paws healed. The cuts faded. The pain went away. But I carry that night with me, always. In the way Maddie looks at me. in the way he holds me a little closer when the wind picks up, in the way he whispers, "Good girl, Velvet. You're such a good girl." I wasn't trying to be good. I was just trying to keep my family safe. If you're listening to this story, if you've stayed with me through the fall and the cold and the fear, then I want you to know something. You don't need to be big to make a difference. You don't need to be strong or fearless or certain. You just need to care. You just need to love. And when the storm comes, when the wind screams and the cold presses in and the people you care about need you, you just need to stay. Even if you're scared, even if you're hurting, even if you don't know if you'll survive, stay anyway. Because love isn't about knowing the outcome. It's about refusing to leave, about pressing your body against theirs and sharing your warmth and waiting for dawn. That's all I did. And it was enough. I was only a dog. But that night, on that mountain, in that storm, I was their warmth. I was their hope. I was the reason they didn't give up. And I would do it again. 1,000 times over. If this story moved you, share it. Not because I need to be remembered, but because maybe somewhere, someone will hear it and remember that we're all capable of extraordinary things when we love fiercely enough. Thank you for listening. And if you have someone in your life who would lie down in the storm beside you, or someone you'd lie down beside, hold them a little closer tonight. Life is fragile. But love is the warmth that keeps us alive when everything else is cold. Even when we're scared. Even when it hurts. Especially then. Every story here reminds us what love and loyalty truly mean. Subscribe and join our circle of hearts.